When you get old and gray, there's certain things in your life that you're gonna look back at and feel proud of, like learning how to drive a car, graduating high school, learning how to wipe. However, there's also the opposite of that. There's some things in your life that you're gonna do your best to never think about for as long as you live because it's some of the corniest stuff imaginable. I am confident that every single person watching this video, this is something that you can relate to. Thinking back on something that you used to do, or just thinking about how you used to carry yourself. Now, I am in no way immune to this. You know, as much as I wish I could say I was just simply born with the ability of being cool, that's unfortunately just not the truth. Oftentimes, I think back to the ways that I used to act and just the way that I used to present myself, and it pains the very depths of my soul to even relive this. If you ask me to describe the type of person I was way back in middle school, you know, around 11 to 13 years old, I was exactly what you would picture to be the weird kid. I would do some of the corniest imaginable, like randomly yell meme internet phrases in the hallways, or make references to Five Nights at Freddy's in front of hundreds of kids in the hallway with no shame. I remember this one time when classes were in the middle of transitioning. For no reason, out of the blue, I just decided to yell to some random kid, "Is that the bite of 87? Why did I say that? I couldn't have saved it for the school field trip to Chuck E. Cheese? We're gonna come back to this in a bit, but for now, I think it's really important that we talk about the way that I presented myself, looks-wise, because that's usually the first thing that you notice about somebody. And well, sports fans, do I have some disappointing news for you. I wasn't always the aura farming Chad that you see today. Oh no. Back in the day, I was, how do I put this? Chopped, stinky, and worst of all, wearing bad outfits. The majority of my outfits back in the day were, chef kiss, truly worthy of walking on the Balenciaga runway. They usually consisted of the same 3 graphic tees I got from Target, the same pair of Walmart pants, and an old beat-up pair of Converse. I still remember I was like 11 years old pulling up to school in my Teen Titans Go shirt, thinking I was the flyest of them all. Nobody could possibly have a better outfit than me. Yeah, clearly I was sniffing way too many Sharpies in art class, because this was terrible. As you grow older, your fashion is usually supposed to improve a little bit, right? But no, that wasn't the case for me. If anything, my fashion took a straight nosedive down. Year after year, it was the same beat-up pair of Converse and the same graphic tees in rotation. My dad ended up taking me to Marshall's on the first day of the 7th grade and said I could pick out 2 of whatever I wanted. And out of the plethora of different items I could have chosen, I bought 2 Puma track jackets. Why? What the fuck? Great fashion choice, dude. Yeah, instead of coming to school looking like a Redditor, it looks like you just pulled me straight out of The Sopranos in my full tracksuit. I'm confident you could hear my tracksuit in the hallway echoing from all the way on the other side of the school. I bet it was like a horror movie for kids who got kicked out of class and were standing in the middle of the hallway. All they could hear was... I'm willing to guarantee that any picture from that time, I am probably wearing either those jackets or Converse. And you know what? That's a hill I'm willing to die on. They may not be the bee's knees in terms of fashion anymore, but as long as I'm on this earth, man, until the end of time, I will forever be a Converse fan. When I was growing up, Converse wasn't seen as this big trendy shoe like it is today. Don't no one care when you're struggling, man. I was way back in the trenches rocking the same pair of Converse for 3 years in a row. The reason I started wearing them is because I watched Diary of a Wimpy Kid and I saw Greg Heffley wearing them and I thought, damn, now that's a cool guy. I needed serious psychological evaluations back then. Now, moving away from my questionable fashion choices, how else did I decide to present myself to the rest of the world? Well, only with the worst possible haircut of all time. My haircut, or rather lack thereof haircuts, was one of the biggest mistakes in my life and something that I still occasionally think about in the shower. The reason I say lack of haircuts is because I would legitimately go months, I'm sorry, years without getting a haircut. There was a period of my life where I probably didn't cut my hair for like a year and a half. You know, in the moment I thought I looked like Prince Charming from Shrek with my luscious locks, but no, I just looked homeless. It was so bad. It was a mix between like Finn Wolfhard and your local tweaker. Well, I'm not really sure I believe. Oh, yeah, well, here's a picture. I'm not sure I fully believe that. Here's another. Moving away from appearance, what are some other things that truly made me cringe? You know, more so than the average being. Well, for starters, when I was in middle school, I was into some fandoms that weren't considered the most popular at the time. Nowadays, Pokemon cards and Five Nights at Freddy's and Minecraft, it's often something that's embraced with open arms on social media, and in some cases real life. There are definitely things that got the opportunity to grow quite a bit, and it's more accepted, like Five Nights at Freddy's and the Living Tombstone is viewed as fun and quirky lucky to like, but back when I was growing up, oh hell no! If you were a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's back when I was in school, you had to keep that secret. You could not let anybody know what type of stuff you enjoyed. But me? Oh, I could care less. I was so open about my love for Five Nights at Freddy's and Geometry Dash and Minecraft. I was going out into the world being very open about my love for these properties. I would talk about Five Nights at Freddy's all the time, and I was like one of those weirdos who was more obsessed with the super complex lore than anybody else. I was like Isaac Newton or Galileo doing hard, intensive research inside of my gross little laboratory on the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. I was legitimately putting hours worth of research in, trying to find out who exactly was Michael Afton. I was doing more on that than I did on my assignments that were due the next day. You remember how back in 2017, how there were those super cringe 3D hoodies? You know, they'd always make your skin super itchy and give you a mystery rash. They'd like definitely were made in a random Chinese factory for 12 cents. Well, I got a Five Nights at Freddy's 3D hoodie from my local Goodwill. I remember the first time I wore it to school, I wanted everybody to know that I was wearing it, as if they couldn't already see the abomination on my body. But I wanted people to hear me, so I yelled down the hallways, or. That same day, I took it off for gym class, and when I got back to the change room, it was gone. Obviously, my music taste has changed over the years. You know, I'm not bumping the same old stuff I used to back in middle school. No, I listen to music that you have to force yourself to enjoy, like Fresh Boy Swag. But back in the day, I was dead just bumping anything in my ears. I used to listen to the Geometry Dash soundtrack when I would walk around in public. Sometimes in school, we were allowed to listen to music while we did computer work. I would purposely turn the volume up to max and take off my headphones, and you would hear the Geometry Dash soundtrack ever so slightly blasting out of my earphones throughout the entire classroom. I wanted people to know and acknowledge the fact that I was truly listening to Peak. That being said, Jumper is still a banger to this day and one of humanity's greatest musical achievements. However, if there was one type of music that I absolutely refused to listen to ever, it was rap music. And I wanted the rest of the world to know how much I thought rap music was garbage. I was unironically one of those people who thought just because I was listening to old classic rock like Guns N' Roses, Queen, that I was somehow better than the people who listened to rap music. I would go out of my way to find people in my school who were listening to rap music and say, "It doesn't rhyme with crap for no reason. I can't believe you're listening to that garbage." Brother, there was no reason for me to be having that type of opinion. I listened to the Geometry Dash soundtrack for fuck's sake. This one time on the school bus, somebody brought a Bluetooth speaker and started playing like 21 Savage, and I went to tell the bus driver on them because their music had swear words. Why? There is no reason to ever be a tattletale. Why was I such a square? I was like that episode of SpongeBob where he's refined and just keeps repeating, "Nice weather we're having." I don't know why I thought the bus driver would even give a shit in the first place. Eventually, around this time, I started to discover more edgy content. You know, people like Filthy Frank, Leafy, iDubbbz. And these guys completely changed my humor, the things that I found funny back in middle school. I used to go around the school and repeat things that Filthy Frank would say. I would get down and squat and scream as loud as I could, "Hey boss, I have a cancer." Funniest Person of the Year award. It must go to you, man. You're so fun. However, one thing Filthy Frank did was change my perspective on rap music. And for those of you who don't know, Filthy Frank used to have this rapper character called Pink Guy, and he would make different rap songs that were pretty good. And it's because of this that I started dabbling in more rap music. But not the rap music that you'd expect me to listen to. No, I was into a new genre called meme rap. Artists like Young Gravy, Baby No Money, Shotgun Willie all started off as meme rappers, and I wanted a piece of the cake myself, so I decided to start my own meme rap career, and somewhere out there on the internet remains my SoundCloud that I forgot the password to, so I can't delete any of it. And I made so many different songs dissing people I didn't like who I went to school with. And I would get to school and blast my own music on my speaker so everybody knew that they were listening to my meme rap. Oh god, I look back in the shower and I just cringe. It was so bad. But again, who doesn't? I'm pretty sure that almost everybody has a moment like this. If you think about things that you did a long time ago and you cringe, that's character development, baby. That's a good thing. If there was like some 40-year-old dude who thinks about the things he did back in high school and goes, yeah, those were the good old days. Yeah, that guy's a dude. and I don't want to be around him. Moral of the story, to be cringe is to be free. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Follow my Twitter, my Twitch, and my Instagram, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Okay. Hey, I'm 4 men deep in this German, and I'm whipping around the suburban. Plot on the chick, gotta make the excursion. So I managed this shit like I'm Megan. Went from Henny to sipping on bourbon. I switched to a different person.